Temperate grasses on Agricol's Groendag. We find out a little bit more which grass is going to be the best for you. This video is proudly sponsored by Bloodhound Cattle Tracking. Make sure that you always know where your cattle is.
Okay, we'll start with grammar and maybe some punctuation. I'm joking. Okay, so we're here with the gematigde grasse. I hope I said that right. The temperate grasses. All of these grasses here need about 25 mils a week, I would say. So definitely irrigation. You can get away with some of these guys without, but let's just say for general sake, we need water. So I'm going to start with the canola. Let's get that out the way because that doesn't really fit the pastures too well. I've got on the far side, Diamond. It is a conventional variety. And then the one closest to us, the high-tech Trophy, that is a TT variety. So it's triazine tolerant and atrazine tolerant. So you can spray those as herbicides on that cultivar and you won't have sort of planting wise, you'd probably aim for 2.8 to 3 kgs per hectare. So I don't know how many of your guys planters can throttle to that low. Most of our guys use a nice winter option if the wheat's not working for you or the rains start to come down when your wheat needs to be harvested and then your quality goes down. Canola might be an option for you, a little bit quicker, so you can get it off the lands before you need to plant the maize again. Right, so we'll call that out the way. Oh, sorry, it's also a part of the brassica family. So try not to plant that year after year either, because you get things like club root and those other brassica diseases building up. Right, let's get on to the grasses. So I've got Kodiak there, Thumper, Kikuyu Companion, Lush. These are my annual, so 1 year ryegrasses. I've got the Kodiak, which is a Westerwald. It's a diploid, meaning it's got one set of chromosomes. All those in the back are tetraploids. They've doubled the amount of chromosomes in. So what happens when you double the amount of chromosomes? You've got more or bigger cells, more genetic information inside of it. What that leads to is bigger leaves. It leads to increased palatability, higher sugar levels. So with that bigger leaf, it does then start to use a little bit more water. So you've got to watch that as well. This Kodiak is a diploid, but you can see its leaf is massive compared to the tetraploid. So that's not a good example of what a diploid looks like, but it's a great example of what a good Westerwald should look like. So the Kodiak, you can plant now, sort of April, May. It'll produce for you throughout the winter if you're watering it, and October time, it'll go to flower, terminate itself. So it's beautiful between a maize and a maize or a maize and a soybean or something like that. The Italians, if you plant it now, it will go through to more like November, December. So you get a little bit more legs on it. That's if you plant it now. If you plant it in spring, it will grow right through the year, right through the winter, and then terminate again in December. So it's the cold, the vernalization that terminates it, and the day length increasing. So that's a nice option if you've got a bit of a gap there, or if you're in a grazing system rather than a maize soybean system, to then have a nice all-year production on still an annual. If I now go to the perennials, 150 is the only one I've got on display today. This is our biggest seller there in KZN. Our dairy guys love this. They saw me get excited when I mentioned the name. We don't normally plant these by themselves. We add in a bit of herbs and we add in a bit of legumes, but that is my perennial option. So the thing about ryegrasses is actually quite a nice tool for management. If you look at the ryegrass tiller, it will have 3 leaves normally. Once the 4th leaf pushes out, the bottom leaf then dies off. It's a very nice way to, if you go into your lands, to look at the average of what's going on. Then you say, okay, if I'm on my 3rd leaf on most of my plants, I should push the animals in because now I'm losing that bottom leaf. And it's actually creating a bit of a disease environment in the bottom there. So it's a nice, easy way to manage it. So that's the ryegrasses. I'll move on to the fescues. We've got Temora, Fuego, and Triumphant up the top here. Fuego is a late flowering fescue, and Temora is an early flowering fescue. So when these grasses go into flower, your quality starts to drop. So you don't want, let's say you plant just the Temora you've got an early flowerer. All your flowering is happening in a short space of time. You've got poor quality for that entire period. Still got the Fuego giving you good quality while the Temora is flowering. And then when the Temora is done flowering, curve, it looks a bit better. Triumphant, yeah, also just a Fescue. What's nice about the Fescue is they've got nice deep roots. They can sit in water a little bit longer than your ryegrasses and a little bit more hardy. If you go now to the Aldebaran, it's a cocksfoot. So different now to the Fescue or the ryegrass, but very similar in the sense that it's nice deep roots. It's quite hardy. This one looks quite small. Normally they get sort of about 30 centimeters. It's a perennial, same as the Fescues. It just hasn't been given enough time really to show its true colors. So if we move on to the rocket fuel and to the agritonic, the rocket fuel is a chicory, nice deep taproot, the same stuff they make Rick coffee from. And then the agritonic is a plantain. What's nice about the plantain is it's a fibrous root system. It picks up all the micro elements in the soil and makes it available in the leaves. Things like copper and selenium, things your sheep love to have in them. The regrowth on those is also very excellent. The biomass production is excellent and they grow all year round. There's a very good bounce back after a drought as well on the agritonic. So that's all the components by themselves. I ideally like to suggest a mengsel, a mix. We've got the swengras mengsel and the sagte blaar mengsel. The sagte blaar comes in a bag, all the grass is already mixed for you. In there is an early flowering, a late flowering fescue, it's a cocksfoot, and it's a little bit of ryegrass. You then add to that your herbs and your legumes. The swengras mengsel, it's just a sort of guideline we give you. Also early and late flowering type fescue, also a cocksfoot and also a ryegrass. You just choose which ones you want, you mix them together. You then add your herbs and you add your legumes and off you go.
These
Yes.
legumes are all annual, right?
Yeah, these ones that are planted are annual.
Is there any, a perennial legume that you can use with your winter growers?
I would
perennial
say
grass?
probably try the lucerne before you put in white clover, because the white clover, it ends up, if you keep your pasture quite low, the white clover ends up spreading and taking over. So I'd prefer either doing that or stitching in every 2 years. We've got red clovers like Relish and Oregon Red that are biennials.
Biennials.
Yeah, so they've got a little bit more legs on them. So I'd rather do that. And then, yeah, talking about legumes, we go over to our three we've got here today. We've got Ricali, we've got Tabo, and we've got Morale. Ricali is a crimson clover. Tabo is a Berseem clover, and Morale is a Persian clover. So very different growth structures. So with those growth structures, you would use them in different applications, like the Tabo is a nice erect, upright standing. You'd like to mix that in with something like your swengras mengsel, because then the cattle will also get in and get a nice bite. The Ricali and Morale, you can also use in those systems, but you can see they're a little bit more short and stocky, push the arms out a bit more, they're a bit more competitive, and you don't actually want that. You want things to grow together, not against each other. So yeah, I think that's me on the gematigde grasse.
Right, so as jy 'n stukkie Tempred gras soek van Agricol af, linkie bo of hieronder, dan kom jy met hulle in kontak, gaan hulle vir jou uitsort.